So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and a second game of Achtung Panzer. I really enjoyed the first one. I'm going to have another go. I know mistakes were made, well, not least allowing the T-34 to blow up the Tiger, even though the T-34 should have been killed in the last game. Yeah, mistakes were made. Also some other minor ones, particularly if you turn you lose some movement. You go down to just 4-inch move instead of the normal, well, full distance you would normally do. And there were one or two other little things that I got. When you get hit by a shell, if it's in the hull or the turret, you test for effect on the crew inside and also the commander outside. So minor things. I knew I'd get things wrong. It was first game after all, but we're going to have another go. So this is mission 4. This is hold the bridge. So the idea is the attacker, in this case the Americans, have to secure that bridge. They have to basically get at least one of their tanks over the bridge onto the enemy side of the table by the end of the game. If they do that, they get 5 points, victory points. They also get 2 points for each enemy tank that's destroyed. Meanwhile, the defenders get 2 points for each attacking tank destroyed. It's 40 minutes of game turn, and half the German forces have to be in a reserve position. So there's actually 3 of them. Maths doesn't allow halving of that. So I've said they've got 2 deployed on the table, and 1 will come on later on. The Americans have, well, let's look at the forces first. We've got 2 Shermans. We've got a M4 Sherman here in the middle, and then on the top side there, might look a little bit like oddball. That is an M4 A375 tank. They're both class 2 medium tanks. Not particularly brilliant guns, but we'll see what happens. They have got stabilizers, both of them, which will be interesting. Now for their crew, the one in the center has I managed to get 4 stars for its crew, so it's got a commander 1, went gunner 2, driver 1, so we'll see what that turns out like. The other Sherman, oddball Sherman, went up, got a 5, so I put 2 on the commander, 2 on the gunner. Actually no, got 6, sorry. 2 on the commander, 2 on the gunner, and 2 on the driver. So that's interesting. They're all experienced guys. They're also supported by an M10 tank destroyer here. Love that model. That one also got 6, so it's 2, 2 and 2 again. Now I've loaded up all the ammunition as well. The tank destroyer is the only one capable of firing special rounds. It actually got something like 5 or 6 shells, but you can only put 2 on any tank, so it's got the maximum it can have, which is 2 special shells. The Shermans do have HE, do have smoke as well as HE, so that's them sorted. So they deploy 6 inches in from the table edge. We've marked out, there's supposed to be 8 ambush points. So one is this impassable wood here, another one that building, another one this building. That sort of orchard area is actually a strong point. We'll get back to that. That's another ambush point. That's another ambush point. No, that's a stronghold. Sorry, that's a stronghold. That's an ambush, and that's an ambush. The rules allow basically to cross the ford is rough ground. Crossing the bridge is open ground. I don't know whether I put enough to cover out. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. So 40 minutes of gameplay. After 10 minutes, the German reinforcements come on. The Germans have got a Panzer IV and a Hetzer anti-tank. They've got another Panzer IV to come on, which comes on after the 10-minute mark. Let's have a look at their tanks. So the guy that's on the table is this Panzer G. He's got 2, 2 and 1 stars for his crew. Can't fire any special, well, in fact the Germans, because it's early 45 the scenario is set in, or I've decided it is, I randomly worked that through. it is very, very short of special rounds. So I think they only got one. So I put that with the tank destroyer. We'll see whether that makes. Oh no, I put it with the other Panzer. So this Panzer that's on the table has AP, HE, and smoke. The next one coming on is also 2, 2, and 2. So some good rolls on these stars for these both sides here. So they've got the special round there. And then the Hetzer. Now, one of the problems I've noticed with the starter sets you get with the counters, they only do enough counters for 5 tanks. So I'm using 6, which is a bit awkward. So this has AP, HE, and a special round. So I know it hasn't got a special because I haven't. So the 2 special counters are going to have to be HE and AP, but I'll just have to remember, which is slightly annoying. But the command, I rolled very low. I think I rolled a 1 on their stars, so it's a 1, 2, and a 1 for that. So this Panzer IV will come on later on. Now, in terms of cards, I won't go through all these, but British. But the Germans got hold, static, bad day, poor cover, and inspired leadership. Also, for their assets, they've got tank destroyer, artillery, and sniper. Now, the scenario to make up for the fact that defenders get 2 strongholds, the American attackers get a free combat engineers card, asset card, which allows them to clear ambush terrain or stronghold terrain. They also rolled very nicely on the assets, so they've got airstrike, infantry, tank destroyer, and artillery to support their attack. I think they might need it. The German have 2 tanks, could start the game with 2 tanks in prepared positions, so that's basically what they do, which basically means they're not very easy to spot, hence the little markers here, and also count as hull down until they come out. So we'll see how this plays out. Should be interesting. So I won't film every single thing. My plan is just to sort of do the moves and then maybe do the tacticals, just to speed things up, because I was conscious the last game was quite a lengthy affair, but that was partly also learning the rules. So I've got the counters here. There's 6 tanks but only 5 on the table, so I've just mixed them all up. So we'll just establish radio contact. So the Americans here, they've got a, what's their best commander? A 3+. They're in view, so they are fine. So they're in radio contact. The Germans, are they in view? Yeah, they are. They're in contact. Well, they rolled a 6 anyway, so absolutely fine. So we'll take these 3 for the Americans and these 2 for the Germans. And let's just look at what we've got here. 1, 3, 4, which means a 2 and a 5 are the Germans. So I think what we might do is put the 1 on there, the 4 on the tank destroyer, and the 3 on Oddball's tank over there. And the Germans, I'm going to put 5 on the Hetzer and 2 on the Panzer IV. Right, so I'll do all the orders, I'll do the first set of moves, and I'll be back with tacticals. Right, that's activation phase 1 over. Nothing particularly dramatic happened. Sherman 1 was first out. It moved forward and then scooted up to the edge of the building, tried to do a free pivot but failed to do so. Turned its turret towards the Hetzer over there on the edge of the woods. Now, the rules are, if you're in a prepared position, which these German tanks are, unless they fire at you, you've got to get within 18 inches to have any chance of spotting them. We're further than that, so all he can do is turn the turret. He's a bit suspicious of that ground over there, and that's all he's done. The German Panzer IV was next. He didn't do anything movement wise, obviously, because he's in the prepared position, but he did spot Oddball's Sherman coming through that wooded area there, or looking through that. That doesn't block visibility, it's just like an orchard, so you can see through, but managed to spot him. And then he also forcibly loaded his gun, so that Panzer IV is loaded and got a bead on oddball. Now, one thing I did clarify, in fact, the rules writer clarified on my last video that you cannot have 2 shells in the barrel. You have one in the breech, then you can't have one ready. So if you've got one ready, you can't have it in the breech, which was how I've been playing it, but I just it was good to know that I wasn't going insane. Also, he quite rightly pointed out that if you're a medium or a light gun, or in fact if you're just a medium gun, there's no reason why you shouldn't just do a forced reload every single time, because even if you miss it, the shell goes into the breech, so you lose nothing. It's only the heavy guns and the very heavy guns that you need to make a firm decision on. So that's interesting and kind of made sense to me. So that was number 3. Number 4 was Oddball himself. He moved forward and then scooted up to the edge of the wood there again, because he can't spot. He couldn't spot that Panzer IV from back where he was, so Panzer IV is still invisible. Next was the M10. M10 just basically moved forward and then did a scoop move. Again, remember how I'm pinching myself, he can't see that Panzer IV. So that is him finished. And then finally for this sequence, the Hetzer spotted that Panzer IV hiding behind the building there, and loaded. Well, he attempted to forcefully load his gun but failed, and therefore it's in the breech rather than fully loaded. So that was phase 1 over with. So we'll come back and do phase 2. Right, so first I thought I'd record this because it's interesting, I think. So the Panzer IV was first. Remember, he was here up against this building. He did a right turn order, so he's just turned on the spot and moved forward 4 inches, which means he's now broken line of sight with this Hetzer, so the spot counter comes off. Now, if he'd been targeted, so the next phase over, it would just flip over to spotted. So that's the way that works. So we'll put that back on the Hetzer's board. So he's got to that point. He's now looking down the road towards that Panzer IV. Is he within? He's not in 18 inches, so he's not. He can't spot. I'll get the camera in a nice position. There you go. So he can't spot that Panzer IV. So I think what he's going to try and do, he's going to try and do his free pivot. If he can, his driver is a 4+. He rolls a 6, so we pivot there, which at least brings his frontal armour such that it is towards that Panzer IV. And I think he's going to ram a shell into the... No, I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to throw a smoke grenade out. He's going to burn his smoke grenade and try and cover himself, because he knows there's something a bit dodgy along there. So he's going to throw a smoke grenade to try and obscure himself. So remember, each tank has a smoke grenade, and also some tanks have smoke rounds. So that was him finished. So our next one here is our Panzer IV. Now, so he's in ambush position. He's got he is fully loaded, but at the moment he's spotting the oddball tank. Now, so one of the things actually I expected to see a lot more comments around was the spotting mechanic, which actually I really like. So you can only spot one tank at a time. Doesn't mean you don't see the other tanks, it just means you're not focused on them. So which I quite like as a mechanic. It means you can't just sort of randomly start spraying shells everywhere. So at the moment the Panzer IV is looking at Oddball's tank over the far side of that orchard. Now if you wanted to swap his view back to the Panzer IV on the road, he'd have to basically stop focusing on Oddball and focus more on that Panzer IV. And so it's a decision for him. If he does that, obviously he can't then aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think the Panzer IV has opted not to manoeuvre. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think the Panzer IV has opted not to manoeuvre. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim, and aiming makes a big difference. So I think what he might do, I think he's going to aim aim Oddball's tank, because the problem in Oddball is in ambush. Now, one of the things I didn't do in my last game is once you're aiming, you can choose to target a particular area of the enemy tank. So you could aim to fire at the hull or the turret instead of aiming at the running gear, which obviously you couldn't hit because it's obscured by the walls. So I think the Panzer IV is going to aim in on Oddball. It's going all in. He spotted him. He is now aimed, and that is his tactical move done. Is Oddball himself. So he is up against that broken ground or the ambush terrain there. So I think he's going to try and cross it and get into the orchard. So the rule is, if you want your tank to enter or exit or even move through ambush terrain, which that orchard is, you've got to test as soon as your tank touches the terrain, which it's doing now. So we have to dice on our driver's ability. He has a driver 3 plus. So we roll that, gets a 6, which is a pass. So it can move through that terrain 4 inches. Just move that tree out of the way. So that is that. Now it is now. No, it's not. It's from the driver's cupola to the closest enemy, and that's not 18 yet. So I think he's going to have to. What is he doing already? Is he loaded? Yeah, so he's going to try and force load his gun. Got 3 plus gunner, fails. So it basically becomes just loaded. And that is his move. So I'll come back with the others. So the rest of the turn, the M10 move forward. It's behind the hill, so I'm saying it can't see that Panzer IV yet. Has to get up onto the crest. It tried to force load its gun, but failed, so it's just into the breach instead because it's only a medium gun. And then finally the Hetzer. Obviously it can't see that Panzer IV anymore that's behind that building, so it instead spotted Oddball's tank all the way over there, so now has sight of that, is now focused down there, and that is the end of the second phase. Right, we're up to phase 3 of turn 1. First out the bag is obviously this Panzer IV. Feeling a little exposed, so it's decided to do a right turn and attempt to move into the broken ground there. So he is a driver 4, so it's a bit tricky. Rolls a 5, that's good. So it manages to get into the here. Oops, away from everything that's in front of it. And it will attempt to do a skill roll to turn pivot on the point there, which he does as well. So the driver's obviously had his Weetabix today, so the driver moves to there. Now the smoke dissipates if anything moves. If a tank moves, automatically the smoke disappears. So both the Shermans are in that ambush terrain there. Well, actually a stronghold. So the defenders are obviously keeping their heads down. Now, what does he do? I think he's going to try and forcefully load his gun. That seems like the most logical thing to do. He is a 3 plus commander, a 3 plus gunner, sorry. Rolls that, so not only that, he loads around as well. So everyone was feeling very efficient today. Next one will be the Panzer IV now. Okay, so the Panzer IV is his number 2. We're going to attempt to fire. No movement, obviously. He stayed still because he doesn't reveal his position yet. He's going to attempt to fire at Oddball's tank over there. He is fully aimed. He is going to use this card, however, which is Port Cover. Target is not so well protected as thought. When one of your tanks fired at a target that is hull down, which that one will be because it's in difficult terrain, the target's hull down value is reduced by 2. However, it's a bit tricky when you're playing yourself, so to speak. There is a card here on the American side, which is this one. That was close. Disaster is averted at the last minute. Play in reaction to your opponent playing any asset or event card. So we cancel the card out. So that is it. Now I don't think you can play 2 cards in succession. So that is it for the Germans. So instead they just have to fire normally. They do have an aimed shot which gives them 3 dice to roll. They are needing 5 pluses. Yeah, see what happens. Rolls 2 4s and a 2. So either way, the shell misses, goes off into the distance and is nowhere near that Panzer IV. Nowhere near that Sherman 4. So the German tank is unloaded. He's also partially revealed his presence. So I think that may be an automatic. Let me just double check. Okay, because he has fired, the concealed marker is removed from him. So now he's revealed his position and didn't do any damage either. So a bit of a disaster there. So we'll move on to vehicle 3, which is actually Oddball's tank. So he was given an order to move forward. So I think he has to dice, because he's moving through ambush terrain. I think he has to dice again to see whether he manages to do it. His driver was a 3+, which he passes. So he does 4 more centimeters, 4 more inches further forward, and he will load. There's no point in force loading because he's got 1 in the breach already. So even if he fails, because it's a medium gun, it'll be into the ready position, so don't even need to dice for that. Right, the remainder of the turn, the M10 moved up onto the crest and has spotted the Panzer IV over there in ambush, and also put a shell into the ready position. The Hetzer attempted to change his line of sight. Instead of spotting at that M4 over there, tried to look at the M10 instead, but failed. So basically means I could have done a tactical action, but instead he's going to keep looking at that M4 over there, and he completed loading. So the Hetzer and the M10 and both the Shermans are loaded. The Panzer IV is not. So that's the end of turn 1. So as the attacker, the Americans get the choice how many dice to roll for the game. Game turn, you know. So we know we've got 14 minutes of game turn. End of every turn, we roll a d6. It can either be 1d6 or 2d6. It's the choice of the phasing player. In this case, it's the Americans. They don't want to move it along. They need some time to get across that river, so they're only going to roll 1 dice. So that's 4 minutes gone by. So we'll change the timer. I'll collect up the counters, and we'll be ready for turn 2. Right, on with turn 2. So we redrew a card to replace each of the assets, or each of the event cards that have been used. So the Americans drew Regroup. Calm head is a virtue in the battle. During the reveal initiative phase of step 1, you can, once all the initiative markers have been placed, you can reallocate your own amongst your tanks. So basically, if you see that the enemy's done something you're not happy about, you could change it. However, the Germans got this one. Extra reinforcements. Your regimental support elements are ready to make their mark. You play this card immediately and activate 2 asset cards from those you've purchased. So now you don't have to use the assets immediately, but you do have to activate them. So Well, it's 2 of them, so we're going to have to take tank hunters because we've got troops in the stronghold. So we'll take that, and we might take artillery as well. I think activate both of those. So those assets are active. It's our chance to use them whenever we wish. So you know what? I think I'm going to try tank hunters immediately. I'm going to try tank hunters immediately because they are in ambush terrain there. So I think we're going to try it on the... oh, hang on. Before we get on, I'll show you the order. So, ironically, the American tanks are out of radio, are out of line of sight, but still managed to connect radio. So they had a choice of tokens. They got the 1 which they've put there with that Sherman, the 3 with oddballs, and the 4 with the M10. The Germans, paradoxically, even though they are in line of sight, didn't manage to spot each other and didn't manage to connect radio. So they had it randomly. So randomly, the 2 is there, which means the 5 must be there. That's a bit nasty. So that definitely means the Germans want to activate their ambush. So basically, what this means is the tanks have moved forward without infantry support, and there is a tank hunting team loitering around in some of this terrain. So we resolve an attack on an enemy tank within 6 inches of uncleared ambush. Well, we've got 1 there, we've got 1 there, and we've got 1 there. So you take your choice. I think we're going to use this one and I'm going to try it on that tank there. So we roll 3 dice, needing a 6. Oh, 2 5s and a 1. So the ambush goes off, card is discarded, but luckily for the Americans, no effect. So that is that. So we'll then start with turn 1. Tank 1, which is the which is the Sherman 4 there. That's he's fully loaded. All the crews are exposed, by the way, just in case, just so you know. He has a spot. So this is the interesting thing with this game. So he has a maneuver order, a move order. So he's going to attempt to move forward. Now he hasn't, even though he's fully loaded, and he's aware that Panzer IV is down the road there, he can't actually fire at him because he hasn't got a spot on him yet. So first up, he's going to have to drive down the road, drive through the terrain. He rolls a 3. His driver is a 3+, which means he continues down through the... now he's going to try and use his free spot to spot that Panzer IV because it had fired, so it's no longer concealed. He has only a commander 4 though, so let's see if we can do that. Rolls a 4, so he does spot. So he has spotted the Panzer IV. Now, does he fire? Now normally, yeah, let's fire. So he is he's going to try and shoot at the Panzer IV. He's fully loaded. He does have stabilizers. So the way this works, if you were firing normally when you've moved, you lose 1 dice. Now, given the fact they only have 1 dice at that, well, actually, what range is it? Let's just check the range. Up to 18 inches. Well, actually, no. Yeah. So the way the stabilizers work is that if he's targeting, so not aiming, he only gets 1 dice. Now usually you lose 1 dice if you're moving because you are considered to, obviously the shooting isn't as good, and if it goes to 0 it becomes a snapshot, which is much harder to bring off. So but because it stabilizes, you ignore the movement. So you can't aim, but then he can't aim anyway. So he's just going to fire 1 shot with a stabilizer. He needs a 5+ to hit, and he hits our friend the Panzer IV. Lucky shot, maybe you could say. So where does he hit the Panzer IV? Now the Panzer IV is in cover, is hull down. He has a hull down score of 3. We rolled a 1, which means it hits the cover and doesn't hit the tank. So even though he fired it in the right direction, it ploughed into the, I guess, into the stone wall in front of that Panzer IV, and that is the first tank done. So the Hetzer is next out. He's loaded and he's aimed at the oddball tank in the woods there. Well, he's not fully aimed, he's just targeted. So does he fire? I think what he's going to do is fully aim in on the on oddball's tank. So now he is properly aimed. That does use up all his orders, but I think that will do for now. I think next, what we might do with the Germans is use their other asset card, the sniper card. So you choose an unbuttoned enemy. Oh no, that's the wrong one. So the Germans are going to use their asset card, other asset card, which is artillery. The ominous whistle of artillery shells warns of an incoming barrage. Randomly effect, resolve an attack against a random enemy tank. So there's 3 tanks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the for the M10. It is the M10. So the barrage comes down on the top of this hill. I suppose that's fairly realistic. Normally you'd roll 2 dice, but if they're open topped, which he is, you roll 3, needing a 6. Doesn't get it. Well, the assets have been not actually terribly useful so far in these games. You think they're going to be really powerful, but they're not particularly so. So that was that. So I'll carry on with American, well, number 3 in the priority, which is oddball's tank. Now then, he had a move order. So he's going to basically try and move up to the edge of that wood. Manages to do it without any problems, so no effect, because he has to dice because he's moving through. Oops, moving through the terrain. Moves up to the front there. There we go. So I can't quite get him there, but he's basically up against that wall. Now he is loaded, but I think he's going to aim on the Panzer IV. His commander's exposed. He can't do it as a free thing, it has to be done as a tactical. So he is going to aim. His gunner is a 3+. He rolls a 2, so he doesn't manage to aim. Okay. Oh, is that an automatic? No, it doesn't need to do that, so it doesn't need to dice for it, so it does manage to spot. That is tank A. So that Panzer IV is now aimed at. So the oddball has taken the chance. So I think the idea was that one moves forward and fires on the move effectively, and the other one stops and aims. So that's the theory. We'll see where that comes off. So that was tank 3. The next one is the M10 up here. So I got that wrong actually. The oddball's tank hadn't spotted, so his attempted automatic spot failed because I rolled the 2 or whatever I rolled. So instead he uses his tactical action to spot the Panzer IV. So basically all 3 American tanks are spotted on that Panzer IV. So now with the M10 he has seen the Panzer IV. He is fully loaded and he is halted. I think we're trying to aim. So he will just use his tactical order to flip the thing. So now he is aimed in on that Panzer IV. Both the other Shermans have just got a view of that Sherman. It's a bit tricky. There's 2 stages. There's that you see it and then you aim at it. So the 2 Shermans have seen that Panzer IV. They're focused on it, but only the M10 is fully aimed in. And then finally, it's that Panzer IV over there that's feeling a bit put upon. Now, does it withdraw? Well, its orders were to stay where it was, so it won't be withdrawing just yet. And I think it will attempt to fully load the gun, which it does. So it has slammed around into the shell. So it slammed a shell into the breech, and that is the end of that turn. So interesting. So that's phase 1 done. We'll move on to phase 2. I'll just do the orders and I'll be back. Right, so first out the bag was order 1, which was the M4 in the woods there. It decided to halt and just reload. Tried to fully reload the gun, but failed, so it's just got one in the breech, which is a bit of a shame. So second tank is the Hetzer down here. He is targeted on Oddball's tank over there. It will be a frontal shot. He's going to fire an aimed shot, which gives him 3 dice. Yeah, 3 dice, needing one of them to be a 5. Gets the one he needs, so it is a hit. The Sherman is in hull down position there because he's in that dangerous terrain. He has a hull down value of 3. So there's a 6. So the location of the hit is onto the front is the turret of the M4. So the Hetzer has penetration 7. The turret of a Sherman is 10. So we rolled a 3, which means it's a glancing blow on Oddball's Sherman. Okay, so glancing blow to the turret, which because he has crew exposed, because he has his commander out, he needs to do a test to see what happens to the driver. So we roll a dice. He rolls a 6. So the commander is wounded. The commander must immediately button up and loses 2 stars for the remainder of the game. So it's a minimum of, it has to go down to a minimum of 1. So basically Oddball is injured, takes a wound, he buttons up, has to stay buttoned up for the remainder of the game. It doesn't say he has to button up for the entire game. Oh, it does say if the commander must button up, he discards the hatch token to show that he has to remain buttoned up for the rest of the game. So he's wounded. He drops to a command with 1 star. And he's buttoned up for the rest of the game. Okay, interesting. So even though you get a glancing hit, you can really limit the ability of some of these crews. Wow. And the Hetzer is therefore unloaded. Okay, so that was tank 2. Tank 3 is Oddball himself. Now he is spotting the Panzer IV, but he's not aimed in. He has a shell in the round, in the breech, and he has a halt order. So I think he's going to try and get his own back. So I think he's going to try and get his own back on that Panzer IV. He's only going to get 1 dice, but he isn't moving, so it's just straight away. It wouldn't matter actually because he's got stabilizers. So he's going to try and fire at the Panzer IV. We are within 18 inches probably. Yeah. That only helps with the penetration. So he needs 1 shot hitting a 5. He hits. So he's hit the Panzer IV. Where's the turret? Where's the Panzer IV hit? It is hull down value 3. So it doesn't hit the terrain. A 5 is the turret. The Sherman has a penetration value at that range of 6. The Panzer IV has a turret value of only 5. Wow. So we're already on +1 for the Americans. And they roll a 6. So that is +7, which I know is an instant destruction. So the Panzer IV erupts and is blown up. Like that. So first blood to the Americans. remove all their spotting things because I could spot the dead tank, but that's it. So that was a very good turn for the Americans. They have eliminated one of the German tanks, and also failed to only took a little bit of damage themselves, and also all the assets that the Germans had failed to do anything. So that is that's that tank done. So that was 2. No, that was tank 3. So the next one is tank 4, which is the M10 sitting up here. He's loaded, and he was spotting that destroyed Panzer IV. So instead, he's going to turn his turret that way. He's going to turn his turret towards the Hetzer, and he is going to attempt. What's he going to attempt? He's going to use his command ability to spot first. Rolls a 4, which does. So he transfers his view onto the Hetzer, and now he's going to use his tactical order to aim at the Hetzer. The Hetzer is now visible because it fired. So the Hetzer is in the view range of tank A. It's actually spotted by tank A. And that is it, because tank 4 is done and tank 5 was destroyed. So we're tidy up and back. Right, so this is phase 3 of turn 2. Can the Americans take advantage of the fact there's now only one tank destroyed defending the river until the reinforcements arrive? They're going to go for it. So tank 1 is the Sherman. It's going to attempt to do a left turn, like so, and then drive out. So we'll need to do a test. It rolls a 5, which means it can do, because it's moving through difficult terrain, even moving out of difficult terrain, it has to do that. So I think the Germans are going to be nasty, and they're going to play bad day. Sometimes fate throws a spanner in the works. When your opponent passes the crew test, you must re-roll that crew test and take the second result. So that 5, they're going to have to roll again. Roll a 2. So the 2 for the Sherman is he's a driver 4, so it's definitely a failure. So I believe he gets bogged down. Let me just double check. Must immediately stop moving and cannot make the free pivot maneuver. Can't even perform a tactical order this turn. So basically it's hit the wall, everything's been thrown around inside, and the tank can't actually do anything. So that is the end of his turn. That was a good use of the card, I think, by the good use of the card. So tank 2 is the Hetzer. Tank 2 is the Hetzer. He is unloaded. So he's going to try and slam around into, well, first of all, he's going to try and use his free, he's already spotted on that oddball tank, so I think he might stay locked in on that. He's going to try and force reload his gun. He rolls a 3. His gunner is a 3, so it loads. So that's the end of his turn. Tank 3 is Oddball. Oddball was also going to do... what's he going to do? He was going to do a left turn as well, and try and drive out of the train. So we need to do dice for him as well. He rolls a 6, so he is able to manoeuvre. So he will turn and trundle out 4 inches. So having done that, he's going to try and do... It's just going to scoot, I think. No, you can't scoot when you're in difficult terrain. So therefore he will just load, I think. Which it does. So he has loaded up. He turns out he can't do a scoot because he's in difficult terrain still. He's half in and half out. So he's going to try and spot that Hetzer up there. So he has to use Oddball's command ability, which is now a 1 star, which means he needs a 4+. Because he's buttoned up, he has to do it that way. Now he fails to spot, so he can't see. The blood's gushing down Oddball's face, and he can't actually spot the Hetzer. So he's working blind. Now the next one out the bag is Tank 4, which is this M4. Sorry, it's this M10. He is fully aimed on the Hetzer. He is loaded. And so I think he's going to try his luck, really. It's a long range shot, but that's fine. He gets 3 dice, needing a 5+. Doesn't manage to do it. That could have been game if he'd managed to hit that. So the M10 is unloaded now, and that is the end of turn 2. So it's the last time it was the Americans that chose how many dice to roll for the turn completion. So this time the Germans are going to roll. They're going to choose 2 dice, obviously, because they want to get to their reinforcements and get this game, get a chance to get another tank in play. They roll a 7, which puts us on 11 minutes into the game, and so their reinforcement is now available. So that means the other Panzer 4 will come on the baseline, 6 inches in, and will be in play for next turn. So I'll collect up all the counters, and I'll be back with turn 3. Right then, turn 3. Drew new cards for the Germans because they'd used 2 of those. Stronghold basically converts an ambush position into a stronghold. Given the fact we've only got 1 asset left and we don't need a stronghold for that, it's irrelevant. And Bullseye is actually a really useful one. When one of your tanks fires at a target, when rolling to hit, you may re-roll any of the dice, or you can re-roll the result from a hit location. That's very useful indeed. Now I did the radio checks. Bizarrely, even the Americans can all see each other. They failed, so they've got random placements. The Germans could see each other and managed to stay in radio contact. They've drew a 1, which they put on the Hetzer, and a 3, which they put on the Panzer 4 that's just come on. So let's have a look at what the Americans have got. A 2 for the M10. Oddball, what's he got? He's got 5, and the other Panzer 4 has 4. Right, so the first out is going to be the Hetzer. Now he is loaded. Yep, got a round of AP loaded. He's also targeted on Oddball's tank over there. So I think he's going to have a shot. It's obviously over 18 inches. He gets 3 shots because it's a target, because he's aiming. Let's see what happens. Needs 5 pluses. Missed with all those, but that card we've just drawn, so bullseye card, we're going to play that. You may roll any or all of the dice. Well, we have to roll them all again. And this time manages to get 1 5. So that is 1 hit. It's a 7 to hit. Oh, we're going to find location first. Now it's not in cover anymore, but we'll still see where the location is. It's a 4, which I think is a turret. Oh no, it's hull. It's the hull of the of Oddball's tank, and the front armour is a 10 value. The gun is a 7 penetration. Rolls a 6, so 7 becomes 13, which is 3 over. So plus 3 penetration. 1 to 3, and it is killed. But no, I rolled a 6, so that's another damaging hit on that tank. So his turret's damaged and its hull's damaged. So any more, even a scratch, next will destroy that. 3 things and you are dead. Doesn't matter where they hit. And it's also a hit onto the... so it was a penetrating hit. The commander isn't in his turret, but it is an additional effects hit. So we rolled 2 dice, a 1 and then a 4. So 1 and 4. So the crew is shaken. Oh, I see. So I rolled a 1 with my first dice, which meant it was a shaken result. There's no harm done. A loud bang rattles the tank and shakes the crew, but everything seems okay. So I don't need to roll for that subsequent. So the gunner isn't wounded. He's just everyone's a bit shook up. The tank destroyer on the hill here attempted to force reload with a special round, failed. So it's just basically gone into the breach. That's all he did. The next one was the Panzer IV coming on. He just advanced up onto the hill, attempted to spot the oddball tank there that was still in the hard ground at the same time at that time, but failed, but did manage to forcefully reload. So he has a shell in the breach, ready to fire. And then the Panzer IV, the Sherman IV here basically came forward out of the rough ground and has spotted the Hetzer and tried to forcefully reload, failed as well, so has partially reloaded. So the oddball tank has moved out and started to cross over the bridge. He is now going to try and spot the Panzer IV on the hill up there. And obviously oddball is no, he can't do it as an automatic. Okay, he's gonna use his command because he's had to button up because of the damage. He's therefore going to use the opportunity to use his tactical maneuver, and he's going to spot that Panzer IV up on the hill. You can't do it as a free, or can't try and do it as a free activation because the commander's buttoned up, and you can't do that. So that is all 5 tanks. So that's the end of that turn, or end of that phase. So I will reissue orders and we'll start the next phase. Right, so next phase, first up was the Hetzer. He was unloaded, so he forcibly reloaded. No, it was partially loaded. He had a shell in the breech. It's now ready, so he's ready to fire next phase. The American tank destroyer back here likewise completed his loading, so he's ready to fire. Then we're now up to the Panzer IV on the hill there. Now he is loaded, but he hasn't seen anybody, so he's going to try and spot, trying to use his automatic commander spot because his commander's out. He's going to try and spot the oddballs tank. His commander is a 3+. Rolls a 1, so he doesn't spot him. So, well, he's going to have to use his tactical then to spot. So he's going to spot oddballs tank and use that opportunity now. If he could have done, he could have got a shot away there, but no luck. So that leads us on to tank 4, which is the Sherman here. So he is going to, well, I gave him a bit, I cocked up his orders. I meant to turn him right, but I turned him left. I actually ended up giving him an advance move like that. He's then going to try and pivot. 2 is a failure, so he won't do anything movement wise. He'll just complete the loading, so he's now ready to fire as well. So then it is just oddball. Now I gave him a fast forward move, so he's going to cross the bridge. which is lucky because if he'd been blown up, he would have blocked that bridge up completely. And then he is going to try and... yeah, it's going to... I was going to think about trying to pivot him, but I think he probably won't. I think what he'll do instead is he will try and fire at the Panzer IV up there on the hill. So he's spotted him already. He's outside of 18 though. So he'll only get one shot. Normally he'd lose one, but because they've got a stabilizer, it makes it still one shot. So he's needing a 5+. He's hit him. He's only gone and hit him. Right, let's see if we've got any cards that can help this. So the Americans are going to play poor cover, which basically negates the hull down factor of that Panzer IV by 2, which is useful. So he's only firing one shot. We know he's hit. Right, so the hull down Panzer IV has a hull down factor of 3. But given the fact we've used this card, that goes down to a 1. So we rolled a 3, which would have hit the hull. Would have hit the. Wouldn't have hit. It would have gone into the cover hillside. So as a result, the 3 on the frontal armour is its hull. So the Panzer IV is hitting the front armour, hull armour, which is 7. The Sherman has a gun of 6. No, strike that. A gun of 4 at that range. So that gives it evens. So it's a glancing blow on the Panzer IV's hull. Now the commander is unbuttoned, so we'll have to do a test for him. I rolled a 3. So he's shaken and he must button up immediately. Okay, so it could have been worse. He buttons up. There's a glancing shot onto the turret, which is damage. And that's that. Well, I thought for a minute Oddball was going to pull it out the bag there. So he is now unloaded. And that is the end of this phase. So we will come back with new orders. Right, so here we go. First up is going to be the Hetzer. Now he has a view of the... he's aimed at Oddball's tank there over on the bridge. And I think it's still in the arc. It's in the frontal arc of that tank. It's not covered by the burning wreck yet. Not quite, but it will be hull down if we choose to fire at him. He is targeted, he's aimed at him, so I kind of wonder whether, or do we change targets and try and fire at that fella over there? I think we're going to try and take down the, because it's a side shot into the side of that Sherman over there, so he's going to try and fire. It's an aim shot. Has he got any cards to help? Not really. So it's 3 shots needing 1 5. Gets the 5, so it's a hit. It will be a side shot, however it has got cover. So the Sherman has 3 cover for hull down, however a 6 is not going to do it. So 6 is the turret hit. That's a second turret hit. Side of that Sherman's turret is only worth 6. Penetration value of the Hetzer is 7, so we're on +1. So the Sherman is gone because he's already been at least a glancing blow, and he's rolled 5, so that's an instant kill. So the because that pushes up to +6, which 6 or more penetration, and 4 or more penetration kills. So that shot tears into the side of the Sherman as it's trying to cross the bridge and destroys it. to be frank, because it had 2 wounds already, 2 damaging hits already, it was pretty much history anyway. But yeah, it is what it is. So that's another tank bites the dust. So we'll just take the targeting things off. Right, so the Hetzer did his job. He's unarmed, unloaded, sorry. So next up will be our friend here on the American tank destroyer. He is now loaded with a special round, nonetheless. He's what is he? He's fully targeted on the Hetzer. So he gets 3 dice because he's fully targeted. He is firing at a hull down target, however. Have we got anything we can use? No. Doesn't look like it. Right, so we're going to roll 3 dice needing a 5. Well, it had been all going well for the Americans. 3 ones. Wow. So that shot is wasted. Special round disappears into the God knows where that one went. Nowhere near the target, and it's a complete waft. Ooh, right. Okay, so the that's 2. So tank 3 is the German on the hill up there. Now he was looking at the Oddballs tank, so he's going to have to reacquire a target, respot something. Now I don't know. Yeah, you can see the front of that other Sherman, so he's going to try and spot that Sherman instead using his commander's ability. Oh, hang on, no, tell a lie, because the shot from Oddball had forced him to button up, so he couldn't do an automatic, so he had to use his tactical to spot. So that is it. Now it's the Panzer IV that we're just spotting. Now he's got a left turn order, so he's going to do that. He's going to drive down the down to here, and then he's going to hope that he manages to do a turn here, a pivot. Otherwise he's presenting his side very nicely to that Panzer IV. 3, is that good enough? Yeah, no, his driver is a 4, so he fails to pivot. He's going to turn his turret. So what do we do with him? He is loaded. He could fire on the move at the Hetzer and see if he can get lucky. Ooh, that was maybe not the best move, but I'd already committed the move before I knew what was going to happen. So I think he's going to take a pot shot because he's got stabilizers. He's going to try and fire at the Hetzer. He has seen him, but he's only seen him, so it's not an aim shot. Well, he can't do an aim shot even with stabilizers. So he's needing a 5 to hit, 1 shot. Oh, did you see that? I thought that was going to roll over, so he misses. So the shell whistles off into the distance, and that is the end of phase 2. So phase 3 coming up. I'll just do the orders and we'll be back. This is almost all over. Right, so phase 3, the Hetzer was first. He tried to forcefully reload, failed, so it's just into the breach. The M10 was second. He played into the breach, which basically allows him to do an automatic reload without needing to dice for it. I thought I might as well use the card while I've got it. So he's now loaded. So we're up to 3. 3 is the Panzer IV on the hill, and he is loaded, and he's got a very tempting side shot into that Sherman there. So trouble is he's only spotted, he hasn't got an aim on the Sherman, but I think he's going to have to take the shot because it's a perfect side shot, isn't it? So he's going to fire down. He needs 5 to hit, but he only gets 1 dice, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yeah, just the 1 dice. He rolls a 3. So the Americans escape. Well, so far anyway. So that's a miss. So we'll empty the barrel again. And then, so number 4 is this Sherman down here. He's going to turn. Surprise, surprise. And he is going to move across the ford. So who's he looking at? He's looking at the Hetzer, actually. So he's got to that point. And then he is going to attempt to force a he's going to attempt to force a reload. Yep, he does. So he's slammed a shell into the breech, ready to go. Right, and that is the end of turn 3. So this is still really tight. I thought I thought when this game started that the Americans would really struggle to do it, but actually they got across the river pretty easily. But then the German defense has tightened up considerably, and I don't know who's going to win this one. Who do you reckon? You've got 2 burning tanks up by this bridge, but now the other Sherman has managed to get across, well, at least partially across the river. But there's 2 German tanks. I don't know. Right, back with turn 4. Right, this could get interesting. So I forgot to do the how much time had elapsed. It's the Americans' turn to roll for it. They're going to roll 1 dice. Well, they get a 6 though. So that puts us on 17 minutes into the game. Now, card-wise, both sides could draw some extra cards. The Germans got the reinforcement card again, so they can bring on their remaining asset, which is the sniper. So we'll discard that one. And the Americans actually got a couple of interesting ones. So they got emergency repairs, which allows you to fix damage on your tank, or try to anyway. And then this one, which is haze. Haze of dust enshrouds the battlefield, reducing visibility. For the rest of the turn, firing at long range, including anti-tank assets, must be done in snapshot fire range. Now, that would have been really helpful, but we did radio checks. Both sides got connected, which is great. But when I joined the tokens, the Germans got 1 and 2. So if the Americans had got 1 and 2, they could have fired their guns and then put that haze card down and blocked the visibility for the... in fact, they still could. If they can survive, they might be able to get across and get into some positions. But as it is, the Germans got 1, which they put on the Hetzer, and they put 2 on the Panzer IV. Americans put 3 on this Sherman, and 4 on the tank destroyer. So we're into turn, I think it's turn 4, phase 1. I feel this is kind of going to be it here. So first up, the Germans. They have the Hetzer. He is loaded. No, he's not. He's on 1 offload. So he's gonna... Well, I think what we're going to do with the Germans is they're going to use their asset, their final asset, which is the sniper. Choose an unbuttoned enemy tank who must immediately button up for the rest of the game, or roll a d6 on the result table and see what happens. So there's a chance you can escape that. So I think he's going to target this Sherman, and I think the Americans are going to go, we'll button him up. So that Sherman is instantly buttoned up and has to stay buttoned up for the rest of the game. Not the most powerful asset, but hey, it all helps. So the Hetzer will continue to load up. So he's on AP, fully loaded AP, and I think he might use his smoke grenade here. I think he's a bit worried about that Panzer, tank destroyer up there on the hill. So he's going to throw a smoke grenade and put that down in front of his tank. There you go. So next up, number 2, is the Panzer IV up there on the hill. He's unloaded because he took that shot at the guy on crossing the river. So he will try and forcibly reload. Rolls a 5, keeps rolling forever, but he does it. So he has reloaded. He's going to put a round of special ammunition in, and that's the end of his turn. So tank 3 is Sherman, who's somehow managed to get this far. He's loaded. And he's halted. That was maybe not the best move, Dom. I thought he would be lucky to survive, so I didn't really think about it. He's halted. And he's got a shot on the Hetzer, but the smoke will make that very difficult to do. Well, he's going to have to fire. So he has to fire it at a snapshot because he only gets 1 dice because he's only spotted the Hetzer. So he gets 1 dice for that, but he loses 1 because of the smoke. So that's an even. If you're below 1 dice, you have to roll 2 dice, and you need both of them to get a hit. So we need two dice needing 5s and 6s. Gets 1 of them, but not the other. So that is a miss. So the Sherman is unloaded, and that is that. Does he play the Hayes game now? No, we'll do it in a minute. So next up is the M10. He is targeted on the Hetzer. He is aimed at him. He's got a round of AP in the breech ready to go. So he would get 3 dice, but the smoke makes it 2 dice. He is needing 5s. Has he got any cards we can use? Doesn't look like it. So 5s. 2 4s. Oh, wow, that was lucky. So now he is unloaded. Shot whistles over the top, and the Americans are now going to play the Hayes card. So this will basically, for the rest of the turn, not this activation, the rest of the turn, all shots are done as snapshots. So we'll put that there so I remember it. So that was phase 1. We'll be back with phase 2. Right, first one out of phase 2. In action phase 2 is the Hetzer. Now he is loaded, however he's got smoke in front of him, and also so he's not moving. A 1 or a 2 the smoke dissipates, so it doesn't. It's going to be a snapshot anyway, so you might as well fire a snapshot at the Panzer IV. So we are not in 18, we're just outside. 2 shots, he's going to need both of them to be 5s or 6s. Well, he rolls 5 total. So that shot is a miss. So the Hetzer is now empty. Number 2 is the Panzer IV on the hill. He's not going to fire, I don't think, because he's got a special round loaded. He is basically going to stay there and aim through all the haze at the Sherman. The Sherman has got a right turn order. It's going to turn like that. It's going to do 4 inches to there, and then it's going to try and pivot 3. His driver is a 4, so that's a failure. It's presenting his side again to that Hetzer, but the Hetzer is not loaded. Now we wouldn't necessarily know that, but I suppose he'd know his shell's just pinged off. So he is instead going to try and forcefully reload his gun. He fails, so he just goes into the breach because it's a medium caliber gun. Next up is the tank destroyer here. Now, given the fact there's smoke everywhere and haze everywhere, he's going to take the opportunity to try and get forward. So he's going to come off his hill and move 7 inches further forward, like that. And then he will attempt to pivot, which he does, like that. And then he will scoot. Roll 2 dice to get the largest amount, so he goes 3 more inches further forward. He's unloaded, but he's moving forward. They're taking advantage of the haze and the smoke and everything else to go forward. So that is the end of that phase. So we're on to action phase 3. Right, so we're off again. First tank is obviously the Hetzer. He's unloaded, so he's going to attempt to force himself to reload. He doesn't, so it only goes to the breach, just becomes partially loaded. 1 or 2 the smoke dissipates. It doesn't, because he isn't moving, it doesn't go automatically. That is that. The tank 2 is the Panzer 4 up there on the hill. Now I thought there's no point in him sitting there because he's got no target, so he's coming down off the hill and he is going to attempt to, no, he's going to stay there. So that's his, he is fully loaded on this Panzer 4, sorry, he's fully loaded on this Sherman, but really there's nothing he can do because it's going to be a snapshot which wastes the aimed shot. So I think instead what he's going to do is scoot up to the wall there. Rolls 4, so all he wants to do is just get up to there, so he's hull down as well. And he'll turn his turret if he can. I can't turn it. Anyway, I'll have to come around and turn that in a minute. He's turning towards the Sherman there. So that's the 2 German tanks done. So I think the Americans got away with that quite nicely. They got across the river, used the timing of that haze card and also the smoke to get across, which is kind of good for them. The Sherman here, all he did was a left turn like that. He's not actually planned to move anywhere. And he's going to complete loading. So now he's got a shell in the breech ready to go. The M10, he had a straightforward move, so he's basically going to come to there. He's then going to try and do a pivot, which he fails to do. So nothing you can do about that. It's got no card to change that, so he's just going to use his tactical to turn instead. And he is there but unloaded, and that's the end of turn 4. So it's American turn to dice for priority, or how the turn passes, how much time's passing. So he's going to roll 2 dice. 10, a big 10. So that puts us on 27 minutes gone of the game. The game will be over at 40. And at the moment, the Americans are about to get a second tank across the river, unless the Germans can do something about it. So we'll be back with turn 5. Right, the replacement cards came out. So this was for the Americans. This was Fog of War. Place at any time. Play at any time. Place a smoke marker on any friendly or enemy tank. And teamwork for the Germans, which basically gives them an extra tactical action, which is a very useful card indeed. The haze has dissipated because it's a new turn. Bizarrely, even though they're virtually next to each other, these two tanks didn't manage to get radio contact, so they randomly got 2 and a 3. The Germans got 1 and a 4, so they put 1 on the Panzer IV and a 4 on the Hetzer. So first out is going to be the Hetzer. Sorry, it's going to be the Panzer IV. I'm thinking what we might do with that, we might play that American card straight away, fog of war, and put smoke straight on that tank to make it hard to see. I mean, so when that Panzer fires, which is now, he gets 1 dice off. So he's going to fire a shot at this Sherman. The Sherman is fully aimed. So would have 3 dice, but because of the smoke it goes down to 2 dice. It's within 18. So 5's to hit. It gets a 6, so there's 1 hit. And the Germans are going to use this card, which is Hold. Your gunner waits for the perfect moment to take the shot. You must take a crew test and resolve the hit. If you're successful, it's a side hit. So that Panzer IV has a gunner of 3+, rolls a 2, which is a failure. So it's just a normal shot, basically. If he rolled a 1, it would have lost the shot entirely. So a bit of luck. So it's your 2 shots. We know it's against the front, so we'll see where it hits the Sherman. Sherman is in a hull down position, so he's got 3 hull armour, 3 hull down. So a 2, basically the shot bounces off the wall in front of him and is wasted. And that was a special round that the Panzer IV had. So that's wasted that one. So that was tank 1. Tank 2 is the M10, who we gave an advance order. Going to cross over the river. So we've now got 2 tanks over the river. He will attempt to... He's going to try and forcefully reload. He rolls a 2, so he's only partially reloaded. And that's the end of his turn. The next one is the Sherman over there, who is loaded and aimed at the Hetzer. He's also got a halt order. So I think what he's going to do is fire 1 shot at the Hetzer. See whether we can hit him. No, 4 is a miss. All they're doing is trying to buy the time because they've got across the river, which was their objective. So that is the end. Oh no, then we've got the Hetzer himself. The Hetzer is unloaded. No, he's off. He's partially loaded. So all he's going to do is slam in the round. Does the smoke disappear in front of him? No, it doesn't. And that's the end of that phase. So we're into phase 2. Right, first up, the Panzer IV. So the Panzer IV moved forward and is going to try and force to reload, which it does. It pivoted, so you may have noticed. Then it's going to use this card, which is Teamwork. All those hours of extra training pay off, so you get an extra tactical move. So having forced to reload, it's now going to fire. Now it has moved, so it only gets 2 shots to fire at that Sherman. One of the dice is a hit, so that is a hit on the Sherman. Now it is hull down. No, 2. So the shot bounces off the wall again. This wall seems to attract more shells than anybody else. So that is that. Tank 2 is our American tank destroyer, who has only eyes for the Hetzer. He's now going to advance and is going to attempt to turn. 3+. Yep, 3+ is fine. I know it's presenting its side towards the Panzer IV, but I think it's got to do it. And now he is going to reload, finish reloading. So he is now completely loaded up. The next one out is the Panzer IV, who's here. Now he is going to now he's unloaded, and he is being given orders to stop there. So I think what he's going to do, he's going to switch his attention from the Hetzer towards that Panzer IV that's coming towards him. So he is buttoned up. Remember, he got hit by a sniper, so he's not allowed to look anywhere. He's not allowed to unbutton. So he's going to swivel his turret round there, and he's looking at the Panzer IV. That uses up his tactical. So the only thing left is the Hetzer over here, who is loaded. However, he has that smoke right in front of him. Now he's aimed at the Sherman. He's aimed at the Sherman here. He is fully aimed in. He's fully loaded. So I think he's going to have a shot. So it's two. It would be three. Oh, see if the smoke dissipates. It doesn't. So he would have 3 shots because it's an aim shot, but the smoke makes it only two dice. However, he gets the 5, so that is a hit. The shot will also hit the side armour of that Sherman, and it will not be hull down. This could be curtains for that Sherman. Maybe that was a daft move on my part. So, where does it hit the Sherman? Hits him in the running gear, I believe. No. That's hull into the side. No, that is a running gear. It's hit it in the running gear, which at least can't destroy the tank. That's something. The running gear for a Sherman is only 3. The shot from the Hetzer is at that range. No, is a 7. So that's 10. So that has damaged the running gear of the Sherman. Now, last game I thought that meant that the Sherman was immobilised, but it takes 2 of those sort of hits to immobilise the tank. Now, it doesn't require any tests on the crew because it wasn't a hull or a turret hit. So the Hetzer hit him, put a bit of damage on his running gear, and will now need to reload. So that's phase 2. So we'll move on to phase 3. Right, phase 3. The Americans are going to play another card, Winds of Change, which basically you can play at any time, and it removes all smoke markers. So that one in front of the Hetzer is gone. Tank 1 is the Panzer IV. He's advancing bizarrely. I just think if he can get up here, then he can negate the cover, the hold down cover that the Sherman's in there. He is going to try and forcefully reload. He fails to, but it's a medium gun, so that partially reloads. I think he's going to use his own smoke grenade, so he's going to chuck smoke out. Should have used the wind later, but he does. He throws his smoke grenade out to cover himself against the Sherman. Right, Tank 2. The reason why I used the Wind of Change is this tank destroyer is halted. He is fully aimed on the Hetzer. He has a shell ready to go, so he's going to fire. So it is 3 shots, 5 or 6. Gets 1 6, so there's 1 hit. Does it manage to avoid the hull down protection? It's a 4 for this. For Hetzer, it's quite low silhouette. No, the shell plummets into the wall again. Good grief, these walls are made of something, kryptonite or something. So that is a miss. So tank 3 is our M4 here. he is halted. He's going to try and reload, which he does. So he is loaded. And then tank 4 is the Hetzer, who is empty. He will attempt to reload, which he does as well. So he's reloaded. So that is the end of turn 4, I think it is. So it is, I believe, the German turn. They'll only roll 1 dice. So just two more minutes. So we're at 29 minutes now. They've got to kill both of these American tanks. So next turn, we need to draw some new cards. So the Americans have used 2 of their cards. So they have pulled out Consolidation. Choose any 2 pieces of cleared terrain. Okay, so you could basically remove the ambushes out of them. Absolutely no point. And this is, you can place a smoke marker on table. Not much use for the Americans. Americans haven't had much use for the cards. Germans also get 2 cards. Not much use here either. They're reinforcements. Well, they've already used their reinforcements. It's funny, they've had 3 of those. The Americans have had none. And they've also got Time Will Tell. Keep track of time during combat is easy. When rolling for elapsed time during the admin phase, you can roll an extra d6 or not roll any dice at all. Shame they didn't have that now. So that is that. We'll do the radio checks and be back. Right, so radio checks were completed. The Americans are in radio connection, but the Germans are not. So the Americans have got 2 and 3. So I think we're going to do 2 and 3. The Hetzer is 4, and the Panzer IV is 1. Okay. So onwards, next turn. I keep saying I think this will be it, but I can't imagine this can go on much longer. They're virtually running into each other. There's no ramming in this, by the way. So first up is the Panzer IV. He is partially loaded, and he has a move order. So he's going to attempt to move forward. He'll need to do a driver check. 2. So I think that's a failure. Yes, it is. So he can't move forward. See if the smoke, however, disappears. No, it doesn't. So he'll just then use his second order to complete the load. So that was a bit disappointing. So number 2 is the Panzer IV. Sorry, number 2 is the Sherman. He is loaded and he is remaining halted. Does he fire against the smoke? He's not aimed in. So it would have to be a snapshot, because the Sherman not aimed only gets 1 dice. The smoke will remove 1 of those. So I think he's instead going to use his activation to fully aim on the onto the Panzer IV. Number 3 is the tank destroyer here. He has orders to move, to right turn and then move. So he will do that, and then he will advance. To go into the cover, he'll need to do a test, which he does. So he does 4 inches, basically gets him nudging into the woods, and he's turning his turret towards the Hetzer. And then for his secondary move, he's going to scoot. Oh, can he scoot? I don't think he can scoot in cover, so he won't scoot. What he's going to do instead is try and reload his gun, which he rolls a 5, so the gun is loaded again. The next tank is the Hetzer, who is here. I think he's now out of arc. So he is fully loaded, but he can't fire because he's out of arc. So instead, he's going to use a tactical order to turn that way. And that is the end of that turn. So, or that activation phase. So we're back with the next activation phase. Right, first up is the Panzer IV. He has a move order. Can he carry on through the cover? Yes, he can. So the smoke dissipates and he comes to about there. And then he's going to attempt to turn, to pivot, sorry, which he does. So he's now on the flank of the Sherman, and he is loaded. So he's going to pop a shot straight into the flank of that Sherman. It's almost point blank range, but he is bouncing around after going over the wall. 5, only 1 dice. No, misses. Was that his chance? Good grief, they can't hit a barn door, these tanks. So that's him done. So now it's the Sherman in reply, who is also loaded. He's given himself a right turn order, like that. It's not going to move anywhere, and he is going to fire. Turn the turret the right way. He's going to fire at the Sherman, the Panzer IV. He's loaded with AP. He only gets 1 shot though, that's the only thing. And he misses, rolls a 4, so that's a miss. So he is empty as well. So the fear of the Panzer IV coming charging through the woods has actually put him off his shot as well. Looking at the cards here, see if there's anything we can do. No, nothing at all. The Wolverine here, it's got what orders did I give it? Straightforward orders. So I need to test a 2. A 2 is a failure, so he can't move because he has to test going through the ambush area. So he can't move, but it isn't a complete stop, and doesn't stop his tactical order. So he is now loaded, and he's pointed at this Hetzer, so I think he's going to fire. Now, even though he didn't move, it would be like he'd moved, if you see what I mean. So he would normally get 3 dice, but goes down to 2 because he's counted as moving. Let's see whether he can hit. He hits the Hetzer. Where does he hit the Hetzer? It ploughs into the bloody wall again. So that shot is wasted. Now the Hetzer is also loaded. He's going to fire at the side armour of the Wolverine. He will get 3 shots this time because he's aimed. He gets the crucial 5, so that's a hit. Let's see if this time the Wolverine gets some cover because he's in a hold down position, but it doesn't protect him. So it's a side shot with a value of 5, hits the turret of the Wolverine. I'm guessing the armour is not too good up there. It is the front of the turret because it has turned towards, so probably what we could have done there was aim at the soft spot. Maybe we'll try that. So we're going to try and use an aim at the hull instead. So the gunner rolls a 4, which is a pass. But the Americans are going to play bad day. So whenever your opponent does a crew test, which to aim was a crew test, you can re-roll it. So he has to re-roll it. Still rolls a 4. So the shot hits the hull, side hull of the Wolverine, which is only a 3. The Hellcat, the Wolverine the Hetzer has a penetration of 8, maximum amount. Boom. The Wolverine is down. Wow. Well, I mean, inability to hit anything has really they've really paid the price, the Americans here. So that is the end of phase 2. So we're on to phase 3, and the Americans have only got that Sherman left, and he's now presenting his rear to the Hetzer. So I'll just do the orders and I'll be back. Right, so first up is the Panzer IV. He is unloaded. He's going to do a turn and attempt to get alongside the Sherman again to there. He'll then try and do a pivot, which he does. Brings him to there, and then he's going to try and force reload, which he does as well. So he is loaded and alongside the Sherman. Next out is the Sherman. Now he was given a halt order. He will turn his turret towards the Panzer, and he will attempt to force load himself, which he does as well. Who is going to be able to hit each other? The Hetzer at the back here is just continuing to stay where he's been the entire game, and he'll try and force reload as well, but he fails, but that partially loads him. And that is the end of turn 5, I think it is. So it's the Americans' turn to dice for it. They are going to roll 2 dice, I think. So they get 6. So that pushes us on to 35 minutes out of a 40-minute game. Right, we'll clear up and be back. Right. First of all, the important things. Americans got a replacement card which is under the breech. Basically allows you to force reload with no need to test. Not much use at this stage. More importantly, radio checks. The Germans managed to keep radio contact, so they got 2, and they got 1 and 2. So that is not good for the Americans, who end up with 3. I think the Americans are going to play Fog of War, and they are going to put smoke on their own tank just to make it a little bit harder to hit. So it's not blown up, it's just putting that on to say it's hard to see. It's a risky move, but I think the trouble is they've got the Hetzer behind them, who's now almost loaded, and you've got the Panzer IV in front, who, well, on the side armour, who is now able to fire without loss. You should have his turret that way. I can't turn the turret on this one. Oh yeah, there we go. Right. So he is now looking straight at the tracks of that Panzer IV, that Sherman. Right. So first of all, we've got the Panzer IV. He is loaded. He has an order to move. He's ordered to stay exactly where it is. He's going to try and put. He was going to try and put 3 shots into the Sherman, but it goes to 2 because of the smoke. Double hit. So it's 1 hit on the Sherman. Where does it hit the Sherman? Hits him in the running gear. So I think what we'll do is we'll try and aim with the gun. The gunner will try and aim. He does. He's aiming for the hull, side hull. So he manages to do that. The side of the hull of a Sherman is only 4. The 75mm gun firing at that range is an 8. +3, so it becomes 11 versus 4. The Sherman, instead of being smoke, is actually blown up. So that is game, because the Germans have managed to kill all 3 American tanks for the loss of 1 Panzer IV, and the bridge is safely in their hands, and it's all safe on this side of the I guess the Rhine at this date. So there you go, that was game, and it was a real tense one. I mean, it can be a bit weird when you're at very, very close range and you can't actually hit anything. But bear in mind, you know, there's going to be a lot of smoke and dust and tanks bouncing around all over the place. So I guess you kind of have to make a little bit of allowances for that. But it was great fun. And once you get into the swing of it, the turns whisk by very, very rapidly. I think I got less wrong this time. Hopefully, if I did, let me know. If I got anything wrong, let me know. I'm sure people will. Good fun game. I thought the Americans would. I thought when I saw the scenario, I thought the attackers are really going to have this hard. Actually, they got across, and I really thought they were going to walk it. And then suddenly, it all turned around. And but I do like those cards. They add something. I've so far had 0 luck with reinforcements. And in fact, in that game, the Germans got all their reinforcements, the Americans got none. So, yeah, that was an odd one. Anyway, there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. And I will see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.